Well, as you know, there were a flood of applications for the Sergeant session today. So I thought, well, maybe it was appropriate just to do something about the most successful fundraising that the world has seen. So just, anyone know who that is? No, it was taken in 1920. His name is Charles Ponzi. He said he could acquire postal coupons at a discount and sell them overseas at a profit. He would promise 50% interest in 45 days or 100% interest in 90 days. So how much do you think he managed to lose for his investors? If you'd like to put a sum in the box, I need a couple of people to... So, if you guessed 100 million US, you're half right. It was 200 million US that he took. But one of the great things in the world is if you've got a coach and you follow the coach, but you do a lot better, then you are very successful. This is Bernie Madoff. He learnt from Charles Ponzi, but he took it to a new level. And in 2008, we know he went to jail for 150 years before his first parole hearing. The estimated total of his losses, can people remember what the estimated bill? Sorry?
2 billion. 62 billion?
No, half and half, so you both have to pay. Sorry, you sort of either side of it. It's estimated 18 billion US. But of course, there are many who haven't disclosed that they lost money for various reasons. Up there with them almost is this chap. Anyone? No, not Rupert Murdoch. No, he'd be delighted to hear that. It's Robert Maxwell. The Mirror Group. And he stole from his company's pension funds to keep his business alive. Any estimate on how much he managed to get out of the pension funds without anyone noticing? Sorry? Yes, it was something in that order. It was hundreds of millions of US pounds. And then the British government stepped in and promised to top up 50%. Of course, Robert Maxwell was never interviewed about his fraud because he and his boat went to sea and only the boat came back. So whether he fell or was pushed, who knows. But then we get interesting. This chap here, believe it or not, the most unlikely character, is the world's most successful individual crook ever. His name is Stefan Weiser. He's a French waiter, and during 6 years of travelling Europe as a waiter, he stole 239 artworks from 172 museums. He was a collector. He didn't sell any of them for profit, but his biggest mistake was that he kept them all in his bedroom at Mum's place. How much do you think the artworks were worth in Mum's house? Have a guess.
300 million.
300 million? Close. 1.4 billion US. And the most expensive one that he took was only worth 50 million. So work out what they were. He was caught in 2001 and he was sentenced to a huge term of 3 years imprisonment. Largely for the fact that he hadn't stolen them for gain, he had stolen them purely for the passion of being a collector. Currently, the world's most active crooks are a group of Russian hackers. They've only been operating for 2 years. They access banks' systems and transfer funds into accounts. They are also able to program ATMs to dispense money at a particular time, so they can send their associates to an ATM knowing that it's about to spew money out at 10:53 a.m. in the morning. As I say, they've been operating for 2 years. So far, no one really knows where they are, apart from the fact that they're in Russia. They've never taken more than 10 million from one bank, but so far they have hit more than 100 banks in 30 countries, and their total amount so far, 1 billion in the last 2 years. Now we'll take a pause here if you want to check your accounts. There's a Russian expression, ito ifpos varami. It means it's just a matter of time. And Australasia's largest fundraiser ever. Close. It occurred on the 15th of June 1862 in a lovely Australian named town in New South Wales called Eugowra. And 8 men, led by an Australian with a lovely Australian name, Frank Gardner. They robbed a Cobb & Co coach of 77 kilograms of gold. And how much would that be worth today? 77 kilos of gold. Anyone want to take a guess at that? It's
3 billion.
10 million US, Australian, 10 million in today's money. So fundraising in Australasia has never been a terribly big business. But the thing about those Australians is that they were all caught, but the gold was never recovered and has never been, no one really knows what happened to it. There is a terrific book that's just been published called Australian Heist by a chap, James Phelps, and it's an absolute page-turner, great story on Australia's greatest heist of all time. But it's a very small world. Stefan Weiser, the art thief, I just happened to bump into him today, having a cup of coffee at the Museum Hotel, and I helped him to the airport. It's absolutely incredible. I said, look, I'll take you to the airport. You wouldn't believe the size of the suitcases that people travel with. So there we are. Thank you very much.